our organization is likely to have multiple sites. And the most common interconnection between those sites nowadays is arguably multi-protocol label switching. Now, MPLS comes in two very different flavors, Layer 3 and Layer 2. Allow me to do a comparison and contrast. This is what an MPLS Layer 3 environment looks like. Layer 2, very, very different. Polar opposites, I would argue, where it looks like just a LAN interconnection between our sites. Now let's go back and let's look at MPLS Layer 3 VPNs with respect to EIGRP, so we understand what EIGRP is going to see. Now this is a little bit more traditional. This is really what's going on typically when you have an MPLS interconnection between your sites. So we have a few key sites here. This site over here is probably our headquarters. I will in fact label it as such. We'll say that's HQ. Say that's HQ. Okay, I've got a headquarters site here. Headquarters. Branch A. Branch B. Okay. Now what are these routers that we're seeing here? I want to give you a legend. CE routers are customer edge. C routers are customer routers. PE, provider edge. And P, provider. You could think of that as a core router in the MPLS domain. We own the CE routers, as well as the P routers, or excuse me, as well as the C routers. Let's put in a few C routers. Each of these sites would have a collection of maybe some multi-layer switches, some routers. You get the idea. Not in any particular order, okay? So the C routers, which would be at the bottom, are part of the autonomous system of EIGRP, and the perimeter of our site would be the customer edge routers. However, we form an EIGRP neighborship to the provider edge. These are not our routers, the provider edge routers. They're the provider routers, hence the P. So we form an EIGRP neighborship. But what we don't see are the P routers. They've got their cloud of P routers all through their network. That's their core. We don't see those when we're looking at EIGRP. However, what's going on there is they are conveying our routes via multi-protocol BGP. And that's part of the element of an MPLS VPN, multi-protocol BGP. So our routing updates for EIGRP are packaged up, sent along to the far side provider edge routers, and then disseminated through the EIGRP neighborships down to the customer edge routers. So what do we expect? We expect to be able to peer with all the provider edge routers and then see none of the gory details of the provider. That is very different than the layer 2 environment, where they basically fake us out. They hide everything. Sure, there are provider edge and provider routers, but what it looks like to us is, for instance, let's just look from headquarters. Headquarters would be peered to branch 1, 2, and 3, and vice versa. Branch 2 would be peered to the other routers. Branch 3 would be peered to the other routers. You get the idea. So the core in a layer 2 MPLS environment is transparent to us, and it makes things a little bit more streamlined and straightforward for us. And some locations prefer this implementation.